What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. What up? This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on the late edition of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys stay engaged. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. And this content doesn't move without the people. You know how this thing goes. Get active in the live chat. Get active. Subscribe to the channel. Get active on that like button. Listen, the comment section is just as important as that like button. So this is what I need for y'all to do, right? Whatever y'all doing, if you're watching the show live, if you're watching the show after the fact, I really appreciate the people who tune in after when the live stream ends, because that means a lot to me and it goes a long way. Make sure you guys also check it out on Spotify and check us out on Apple Podcasts. But what I need you guys to always do, make sure you guys leave a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Whatever you feel about the show, whatever you feel about the channel, make sure you guys leave a comment. And make sure you guys smash that like button, because trust me, it goes a long way. I know a lot of you guys are not used to me being live this late, but duty calls. And I have a special guest coming on in about 15 minutes or so. And I can't wait to talk to this brother. Can't wait to tap in with him about your Philadelphia Eagles. So make sure you guys stay locked in. It's going to be a hell of a show. It's going to be a fun show. And I really can't wait to chop it up with my guest, a very special guest at that, a well-accomplished guest. And it's going to be really exciting. But before my guest comes on, before our guest gets here, you know, we've been talking a lot about the Philadelphia Eagles as it pertains to the tush push ban and the NFL basically having it out for the Philadelphia Eagles. Basically, the entire league, not the entire, but 16 teams as of right now, at least 16 teams have it out for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it grinds their gears that Jalen Hurts led the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl victory. It grinds their gears. It kills them inside. You know, I saw a clip of somebody I respect, Mike Missanelli, him and Bill Colarulo. They were talking about how fans have reacted to people being against the Philadelphia Eagles as it pertains to the tush push ban. And he mentioned how, at least Mike Missanelli, that is, he believes that it's an insecurity in Eagles fans that forces them to have this woe is me or everybody's out to get me attitude. And I vehemently disagree with that. I don't believe it has anything to do with the insecurity. I think it has everything to do with they hating. Simple as that. I don't think it's as complicated as we have an insecurity. That's why we're playing the victim. No, I don't think we're playing the victim. I think we're just looking at the league like, oh, y'all saw. Y'all saw for real. And I think we know deep down in our hearts, we're going to be us regardless of the tush push ban. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to do damage regardless of the rule being put in place or not. This has nothing to do with insecurity. This has everything to do with the NFL and 16 franchises being soft. That's what it has to do with. I look at this situation and I say to myself, okay, yeah, you can ban it because if I had to roll the dice, it may get banned. It really may get banned because any other time when they vote on something and it doesn't pass the vote, they shelve it. But instead, they're tabling this and they're coming back to it in May. I didn't even know they doubled back in May. I didn't know they had 2 meetings in back-to-back months. I never knew that. But they are desperate to get rid of this play. But it's all good because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter in the end. That's what we got to keep in mind, Eagles fans. That's what we have to keep in mind. It really, really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the slightest what they do because you can't stop Jalen Hurts regardless of what you do. You can't stop Saquon Barkley regardless of what you do. There's this notion that Jalen Hurts is a tush push merchant and he gets mainly all his rushing touchdowns off the tush push. That's not exactly true. There's too much film out there. There's too many highlights out there of Jalen Hurts getting busy. Like, do we not remember the 40-yard touchdown run on the Rams where he outran the entire Rams defense, where he broke a tackle, took it 40 yards to the crib? Don't get it twisted. The brotherly shove, it's a nice card you'd like to have in your back pocket. You know what I mean? It's a nice tool in the toolbox. But don't think that's all we got. Don't think the tush push is the end-all, be-all for the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't get it twisted. Jalen Hurts could get busy back there. Saquon Barkley, please don't get me started. Please don't get me started on Saquon Barkley. And if you guys are just joining the live stream, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We have a special guest coming on in about 10 minutes, and I can't wait to talk to this man. So make sure you guys stay active. Make sure you guys stay active. But again, how can I look at this Philadelphia Eagles team and remotely be nervous about what's to come? Ban it. Ban it. Go ahead. It don't make a difference. Ban it. Because all we're going to do is get the ball to Saquon. All we're going to do is give the ball to A.J. Dillon. That's all we're going to do. It don't mean nothing. And frankly, I'm willing to bet Jalen Hurts could still get it done with just a quarterback sneak. The old-fashioned way, the harder way. I'm willing to bet that. So I can't sit here and cry about it. It's funny. It's interesting. It's fascinating how the opposition is so desperate to knock us off our perch. They can't even do it the old-fashioned way. They gotta cry wolf. Let's be honest. They're pulling a Karen. They're pulling a Karen right now. The Packers, the Rams. Who else? The Falcons. I even throw the Chiefs in there. They're pulling a Karen move right now. It's unbecoming. And their whole mindset is, we don't want people to get hurt. We don't want nobody to suffer any type of injury. Come on now. Y'all know this ain't about no injuries. This ain't about no injuries, y'all. Because if this was about injuries and protecting players, we wouldn't be talking about an 18th game in the season. We wouldn't be talking about discouraging touchbacks on kickoffs. We wouldn't be talking about this. Like, we're setting a bad precedent here. We're setting a bad precedent. The Eagles are the one team that's really good at it, and you're penalizing one team. I could understand if the whole league was automatic with this thing. But guess what? If they were automatic, they wouldn't be crying. Like I told y'all before. If this was the Chiefs that came up with this play, if this was the Rams, the Packers, the Cowboys, who else? I'm trying to think. Who else does the NFL love? If this was the Chargers or the Ravens, they wouldn't ban this play. They wouldn't. But because it's the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the type of time that they on. So you roll the dice, you roll with it. It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. It's going to be what it's going to be at the end of the day. Let me get to some of y'all comments here before my guest gets here. Shout out to my man Twiz Jigga. He says, this is what happens when you're on the mountaintop. Plenty of eyes looking up at us trying to knock us off. Exactly. They're desperate. They're so desperate. It's unbecoming. It's unbecoming. Devontae Graham says, Tone, if they successfully get rid of the tush push, imagine what else they would go after. Bro, imagine that. Devontae, you're absolutely right. They're setting a bad precedent, brother. They're setting a bad precedent. You can't just penalize one team because they're good at something. You can't. And everybody else isn't. If the Bills were as good as the Eagles, they would not be calling for this ban. It's not about injuries. If this was about injuries, why was Sean McDermott's Buffalo Bills the second-ranked team in terms of using the tush push? Why use it at all if you have these concerns? You have these concerns because you're a sore loser. You're a sore loser. You can't get past Patrick Mahomes. That's your real problem. That's what you really need to be focused on. Sean McDermott and the Bills are petty and they're sore losers. If this is about protecting your quarterback or protecting players, why did you guys do it? The second most in the NFL. S. Blunt was good, brother. As a reminder, we got a special guest coming on in a few minutes, you guys. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. It means a lot. Sweet Chin Music says Green Bay about to get embarrassed when we play them next season. Bro, Green Bay is light work, bro. Light work. Alex says they just making the chip on the shoulder of the team that much bigger. That's the thing. I think Laura Brunson said this earlier. Shout out to him. He said the Philadelphia Eagles are not the team you want to give bulletin board material with. They're not that team. They're not that team. And you know what's so funny? Now that I think about it in hindsight, you know, we know Saquon Barkley can get in the end zone, but now I'm starting to think maybe the Philadelphia Eagles signed A.J. Dillon because they had a feeling that the NFL was going to come after them for the tush push. They had a feeling about it. It was something brewing. It was something on their minds that they say, you know what, we need to get a hard-nosed short yardage back. We need to get a power back. We need to get the power back. Not saying Saquon can't get in there, but we need somebody to do the dirty work in the trenches. Maybe that's why they brought in A.J. Dillon, because they felt like this thing was coming. Twiz Jigga says our O-line is too strong to be stopped. You're absolutely right, Twiz. That's the funny thing about it. This ain't just about scheme. This is about strength on strength. This is about my will versus your will. And all they telling me is that they saw. They're lying, claiming it's about health. We want to protect the players. That's nonsense. It's nonsense. The NFL has never prioritized protecting players. That's never been their MO. That's never been their MO. They even brought back Ben Van Sumeren as a fullback. They knew this was coming. Now that I really think about it, the Eagles knew this was coming. You sign A.J. Dillon, you bring back Ben Van Sumeren and you list him as a fullback. The Eagles may draft a running back. They just may draft a running back. You never know. Because A.J. Dillon, that's if he makes it through training camp. The Eagles may draft a running back. This is a pretty good running back class, I'm hearing. Sweet Chin says the Eagles run it more than anybody else. This is a rule. This is a rule against us. Of course, it's a rule against us. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to put it. This ain't a mystery. Humble Servant says, nah, this is targeting the Eagles for sure. Of course it is. If other teams were good at it, they would not target us. I just hate that there's false pretenses. This is a classic case of false pretenses. They don't care about player health. This is not about pushing Jalen Hurts from behind, because that's what the Green Bay Packers tried to do. They tried to say, hey, listen, we need to put a rule in place. You can't push the quarterback or you can't push nobody from behind. It happens all the time. Mike Allen says they just scared of us. They gotta be. Humble Service is good to see you live late. Yeah, I don't really do this, but it's a special occasion. It's a special occasion. Can't wait for my special guest to come on, man. It's going to be really exciting. Bang, Eagles Bang says the NFL with some crybabies. They are. They are. And the worst of them is the Rams and the Packers and the Falcons. I even got to throw the Steelers in there. I never would have thought Mike Tomlin would be one of those campaigning the band to play. I never would have thought he would be one of those guys. Never. Devontae Graham says we are deep at running back. This draft, Tone, we can get a solid guy in round 4. You know what's so funny? You know, they did, like I said, they brought in AJ Dillon, but that's if he makes it through training camp. You know, he did have a neck stinger that left him out the whole 2024 campaign. So I think it would be smart for the Philadelphia Eagles to draft a running back at some point in this draft. Sweet Chin Music says, wait, what did Tomlin say? He's against the play. That's all you need to know. He's against the play. He's against the play. Humble Servant says this is why Goodell was booed at every draft. Listen, I'm looking at all those teams, though. I can't even just look at Roger Goodell because he's just a face. He's just a mouthpiece. He's a puppet. I can't even look at Roger Goodell because at the end of the day, they got to vote for it. The owners got to vote for it. Simple as that. They got to vote for it. And if it's not voted for, it doesn't matter what Roger Goodell says. Doesn't matter. Ying Biz says it's about to get ugly for the rest of the league. I hope they ban the tush push because that's going to make our O-line play even more violent and nasty. That's the thing. I'm not even mad no more. Go ahead, ban it. Ban it. I want them to because that don't change nothing but a word. It don't change nothing but a word. But listen, you guys, like I said, I have a special guest coming on, and I'm really, really excited to talk to this brother. This brother does amazing work. I've been keeping up with this channel for a little while now. My homegirl Simone Stanley told me about him too, and I've been locked in ever since. And listen, this brother has a resume that stretches as far as Broad Street. I'm gonna be honest. He got a resume that stretches as far as Broad Street. I'm talking Broad not only all the way to South Philly. So we're gonna try to keep it as I'm gonna try to hit the major things without doing him an injustice. First and foremost, this brother has his master's in journalism from NYU. Smart brother. See, I got my bachelor's in communication studies. He took it a step further, said, I need that master's. That's what I need. But this man was former managing editor at the Maroon Tiger for Morehouse University, former on-air host for the first ever NBA HBCU League Pass stream, former social media contributor for MLBBro.com. If you guys don't know nothing about that, MLBBro.com, they're known for really featuring the black side of baseball. It's not too many of us in that sport, so it's really dope to see him locked in with MLBBro.com, or formerly was. He's currently a contributing writer at Pavement Pieces, an award-winning journalist, an award-winning writer at that. Currently an associate producer for Fox Sports, and also host of his own sports podcast, Real Talk with MJ. He's none other than Miles Johnson.
Hey, that That was a dope intro, Tone. I appreciate that.
For sure, man. Listen, I see you rocking the USA. I saw that you also worked for the Olympics, this past Paris Olympics, right?
Yeah, I did. Now, it was cool. They had me in Stamford, Connecticut. So I was there doing like the social media and stuff, but a lot of it I just took with me to put it on my own platform too. So be taking the stuff that like I learned from like the mainstream networks and apply different tips and tricks that they use too. So it was great.
Damn, they couldn't get my man to Paris. It's all good though. It's all
I'm
good.
like, yo, my friend, he was a runner, like not a track runner, but he was like a production runner. And so he's giving out the coffee and stuff to Snoop and Maria Taylor, Mike Tirico. I'm like, oh, you're lit. But I was like, dang, bro. Next time.
No, that's what's up, man. Listen, like I said, your credentials, your resume stretches as far as Broad Street, man. It's always good to see a brother just doing amazing things, tapped in with the culture. And like I said, I love your content, bro. I came across it just on YouTube by accident, and then Simone Stanley, I'm pretty sure you know her. She said, hey, listen, y'all know about MJ? She said, no, yeah, we got to get him on the show. We like his social media following crazy. He doing great work. So that just made me tap into your content more. So before we get too deep into the content, I just got to give you your flowers, man. You have accomplished a lot at a very young age, man. And I think that's so fire. I think that's dope. I gotta show you love for that.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
For sure. So let's not waste no time. Let's get right into the shenanigans. So Philadelphia Eagles fan, as I can tell, and I know you have an opinion on this tush push ban or this so-called brotherly shove ban. I mean, the people know how I feel about it. We can get into that, but I need to know, what's your thoughts on this? What's your perspective? How do you feel about it?
My whole thing is, you got the Packers that are the most salty about it. The Eagles beat them twice. You got the Bills. Sean McDermott, the guy that in the AFC Championship game did the literal tush push or their version of the QB sneak 4 times. I vividly remember they failed on a 4th and 1, and that's partly why the Bills lost that game. And he's a guy who's so adamant about player safety and all this stuff. And I can kind of get it from them because they haven't won nothing. They're losers. But when Sean McVay, a champion, a guy who I really respect as a top 3 coach in this league, when he is also saying, safety, health and safety, and that's just BS because they're trying to just use that as a cover up because they're trying to figure out any type of way to stop the Philadelphia Eagles. So when I saw Sean McVay hating, I was like, you're above that because you're a championship coach. So you should have some respect for what Nick Sirianni and these guys have done to perfect a move that nobody else can do. So ultimately, I look at this, I say they're hating, but a part of me is like, because we saw, what was it, like a couple of days ago, they ended up postponing the vote. Now, that makes no sense to me. You're talking about, so you didn't have the votes, so you're going to postpone it till May. So that probably tells me that the move is going to get, tush push is going to get banned. Part of me is like, hey, if it gets banned and we win the bowl, which we will do, what y'all going to say now? And they're going to come up with something, bro. They're going to come up with something. They'll say Cooper DeJean carried us, Quinyon Mitchell carried. They'll say something. But like, this is going to be funny that they're going to keep running out of excuses. So that's my thing. I hate it, but I kind of see the writing on the wall, and it'll actually be fun to just prove all these haters wrong. And for Hurts to show them, like, I can still get rushing touchdowns without the tush push.
And that's the thing. I'm looking at, first of all, I believe they're entering these negotiations under false pretenses. Like you said, y'all claim it's about health. Y'all claim it's about protecting the players. But let's just call it spade a spade. Since when did the NFL truly prioritize player well-being and player health? Yes, they've gotten better with the concussions. They got the little Nerf helmets. They try, But the reality is, how can you tell me you care about player safety if you just enacted a new rule where touchbacks will put the offense at the automatic 35, which tells me you're trying to disincentivize kickers from kicking the ball out of play, meaning you want the ball to be kicked in play, which is going to encourage more kick returns. I thought you guys were trying to limit kick returns. I thought they were trying to make sure that they protect players in every facet of the game. It's false pretenses. And then Sean McDermott, you talking about, oh yeah, player help player safety, but y'all used to play the second most in the league. So this sound like sour grapes. This sound like somebody who couldn't get it done, and now they just need something to look at. I think they really need to be focused on trying to slay that dragon in Kansas City, aka Patrick Mahomes. But it's ironic. You got Sean McVay and the Rams talking about, hey, I don't want to be a hater, but it's an ugly play. And I love that Jeffrey Lurie, Nick Sirianni, and Howie Roseman are standing 10 toes down. Jeffrey Lurie came straight out and said, listen, who cares what you aesthetically means nothing. Well, visually what it looks like means nothing. That's irrelevant. That shouldn't even be a part of the conversation because you don't like how it looks. That's irrelevant. You got Howie Roseman having sidebar conversations with Sean McVay and Sean McDermott, basically, putting a gun to their head in the hallway, saying, "Listen, I'm going to give you a deal you can't refuse." And then you got Nick Sirianni basically calling his former coaches on the carpet. He said, "Listen," and I love this from Nick Sirianni. I love it.
I love it.
He said, "Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, Kellen Moore, I better had those 3 votes. Y'all got y'all jobs because of that play." And I love that energy. I love the energy that Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni are on. I really do.
Yeah, I love it. And it goes to show, like, my whole thing too, bro. And part of the reason why it really gets on my nerves is that if the Bills won, is Sean McDermott going to be one of the biggest people opposed to the Tush push? No, he's not. If the Packers won the Super Bowl, is Matt LaFleur and them going to be like, oh, we don't need no Tush push? No. I can't really respect the opinions of losers talking about winners. If you wanted to ban the play after the 2022-23 season, when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, hell, even 2023 season, going into 2024, when they flamed out in the playoffs, you could have a legit argument and be like, maybe not legit argument, but I could respect them more just because the Eagles did not win the Super Bowl. Like, you'd be like, if that was the Chiefs in 2023 after the Super Bowl, they were like, hey, we won, but that play it's not a football play. It's not entertaining. I can respect it. All right, they won. Or a team that, went far in the playoffs, and the Eagles, last season, they ended up, flaming out in the first round or whatever. I can respect it. But you can't then, when the Eagles win the Super Bowl, then you want to go ahead and ban the play. Like, that don't. So then it just opens up. Okay, if one team is really good at something, are we just gonna like go ahead and ban it? Like, it like opens up a lot of stuff, and I would have more respect for it too, bro, if they would just call it what it is. We don't like to play. It's not about health and safety. We don't like to play. It's a free first down or free touchdown, even though you got to earn those 9 yards. It's not like we starting from 1st and 6, bro, and we just doing it back to back to back to back. No, like, you got to get those 9 yards. You got to have a guy in Jalen Hurts throw a dot to Jahan Dotson and set up a tush push in the Super Bowl. Like, it doesn't just happen like that. You got to get there. So that's my take on it, bro. Like, it is funny, though. It is funny that we've gone to these measures that these teams are that legit scared of a move that instead of getting back in the lab and saying, all right, this is a man's game, we're going to go ahead and, use our force against your force. They're like, nah, we're going to go to the teacher and snitch and say, hey, like, oh, it's corny, bro.
It's giving Karen, bro. I'm going to be honest. It's giving that. You know what I mean? You said something, the fact that these teams refuse to go back into the lab, they'd much rather blame another team for their misfortune. And again, you said this too. These teams, if they would have won, or rather more so, they've been had their chance to get rid of this play. The Eagles been running this play since what, 2022, arguably? Definitively, they've been running this since 2022.
Yeah, I would probably say, like 2021, 2022.
Yeah, something like that.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
It's been a while. And this wasn't a conversation or a talking point until the Philadelphia Eagles started putting belt to ass. Let's just call it what it is. This was never a conversation until we started winning again in the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni era. And, it's unfortunate, but I ban the play because I look at this team as the play is just seasoning. You know what I mean? You don't really need this. It's like dip, man. You don't need this sauce. You can use something. We got too much sauce over here. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's not necessary. We still got Saquon, still got Jalen Hurts. I think that's what's more insulting about it. They like to call Jalen Hurts a tush push merchant. And Jalen Hurts is somebody who's continuously overcome the odds throughout his entire football career, continuously shut up the doubters every step of the way in his career. And they love calling this man a tush push merchant, where there's plenty of film, plenty of tape of this brother taking the ball 20, 30, 40 yards to the crib.
Facts. And just to add on that, you got the Hurts season, you got Hurts and Smitty. I got the Hurts poster right here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, anybody that watched Real Talk, whatever, see my stuff, y'all know how I feel. I feel like Jalen Hurts solidified himself as a top 3 quarterback, and he not 3 in this league. That's what I feel like with what he did in the Super Bowl in the biggest moments. Now, we've had a lot of great quarterbacks in this league. The Joe Montanas. Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning's, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys, Patrick freaking Mahomes. As great as all these guys are, they never had a signature move that the league was trying to ban. So not only if this play gets banned, am I looking at the Eagles and saying, all right, bet, show them why this is just so stupid and win regardless. But I'm looking at Jalen Hurts and I'm saying, bro, they scared of you. You can squat 600 pounds. They're really scared of you. And that should really elevate you higher in terms of the all-time great quarterbacks when his career is all said and done. Like, we're going to look back and be like, dang, y'all was up 34-0, 40-6 against the Chiefs. In that following offseason, all of these coaches that have won championships, have won multiple playoff games, have won a lot of games in this league, they're pleading to Roger Goodell and the NFL saying, stop this Jalen Hurts play. And I'm going to give respect to Jeff Stoutland and that offensive line. But we know this play did not start being something until Jalen Hurts got in the picture. So, a lot of people, they didn't start watching Jalen Hurts and this team until 2022. They don't remember Jalen Hurts in 2021 when he was slim. And so maybe he was putting on like that bulk for the tush push. If they ban the play, I would like to see a skinnier Jalen Hurts. I'm just saying, because that guy in 2021 was crazy shifty. I mean, that game against the Packers, against the Lions, we destroyed them, was running the ball amok all over them. If they're going to ban the play, hey, Hurts, maybe just slim down like 20 or something pounds or whatever, and get back to, you're not going to be no Lamar, but hey, shoot, like, you can give Jay Daniels run for his money. Like, you was really one of them really elusive running quarterbacks, and he still is, but he kind of has more brute strength versus in the beginning of his career, he was really, really swifty with it.
Yeah, to your point, there's an infamous play, probably one of his most dynamic runs we've ever seen, the in 2020 against the Saints, where he basically took it, he kept it, he ran out towards the right, then planted his foot in the ground, made the entire Saints defense just fall, and then he took it to the crib. I mean, and you're right. I was looking at an old interview of Jalen Hurts from that 2021 season where they lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs. I was looking at that press conference, that final press conference. And I always like doubling back just to see, especially now that they won the Super Bowl, doubling back just to see what was the what was the language they was using back then? Like, and it's so funny how Jalen Hurts just foresaw this for himself. He foresaw this for the Eagles. And I'm looking at how young he look in the face, how skinny his neck is, just a completely different human. And I'm looking at him now, looking at him in that Super Bowl final press conference. You know, he got the MVP trophy right here, got the Super Bowl Lombardi right here. I'm looking at him, I'm like, this brother really manifested that opportunity. He really manifested this success for himself. I mean, thinking about Jalen Hurts' success, thinking about everything he's been through in his career, right? What stands out the most to you about Jalen Hurts? Is it the leadership? Is it the dynamic of his play? Is it how he carries himself as a man? I mean, I believe you guys are in the same fraternity, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, shout out to the bros. I've said many times since 2022, and I said this before the first Super Bowl that Hurts did in 2023. I said the bros don't fold. You know, you remember Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We call ourselves the bros, little nickname for us. And like, we don't fold. And I've always looked at Jalen Hurts as a guy that when them lights get bright, he plays his best ball. I love that. That's my favorite thing about him. I love the leadership. I love his ability, to, throw on the move, out of pocket, in the pocket. That deep ball is one of one, perhaps the best deep ball in the league. But Jalen Hurts' ability in big games to elevate his game to an MVP level makes him one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Because we see the flip side of it. Justin Herbert, he'll have his best games in the regular season. And then come to postseason, he turns into he fold, bro. He fold. He don't turn, or he turns into a quarterback that he never was. Like, he had 4 picks in that playoff game against the Texans. He had 3 picks in the whole regular season. He folded when it came time to make the play and perform in the biggest game. Guys like Jordan Love, and he's turned over the baller. Tua is a September champion. Oh my God, he's one of the best quarterbacks in September. Who else in the
Tua is the best spring quarterback in football history. I mean, listen, the moment it gets sub 40 degrees, the Miami Dolphins can't do nothing.
Can't do nothing. Another guy, Dak Prescott, is amazing in the regular season. We saw it last year. 2023 was amazing. Top 2 MVP candidate with no run game. I'll give my respect to him. But when it came time to perform in the playoffs, he folded. So what Jalen Hurts has done in the Super Bowl, he has a record with Joe Montana, bro. Multiple 35-plus point games in the Super Bowl. Only Jalen Hurts and Joe Montana. He had the highest EPA per play this past Super Bowl. He has the most rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl. I mean, he has records on records on records. And again, I look at it like this. Lamar Jackson, how they talk about him in the regular season, that's what Jalen Hurts is in the playoffs. That's what he is. Now, if Lamar Jackson did what he does in the regular season in the playoffs, he would probably be a 2-time, 3-time champion by now. I'd rather have a quarterback that in the playoffs, in the biggest moments, they perform, rather than somebody in September, October, November, they're amazing. Then come January, when either it gets cold or them lights get a little bit too bright, they go ahead and shrink.
But MJ, it's a super team. It's a super team, MJ. I mean, you got Saquon and AJ and Smitty. And I mean, last time I checked, we had those guys before the season started. And they still claim the Eagles wasn't going to make the playoffs. Still claim they wasn't going to win the division. Still claim they weren't one of the best teams in football. It's so funny to me how the narrative shifts when the results finally come to fruition. It's so interesting how the tide just turns. You feel me?
Yeah, how the tide turned. And you have Zack Baun, a guy that, let's just be honest, nobody in Flea, Howie did not think he'd be a defensive player of the year candidate. He showed up. I mean, I came into the season, I believe that the Eagles offense would be top 2. It would be them and the Lions. That's what I thought. And I thought like the defense would be at best middle of the pack. But I was like, hell, if we're scoring 30, 35, 30 plus points a game, if we're middle of the pack, we pretty much good. Mm-hmm. Actually, my expectations, they surpassed my expectations. The defense, they were not middle of the pack, not top 10, they were the number 1 defense in the league. Guys like Nakobe Dean, who they wrote off. He had a breakout year before his injury. Nolan Smith, a guy that it was a lot of pressure on him because when Howie traded Hassan Reddick, he essentially said, I'm giving the keys to you, Nolan. What you going to do? And in the playoffs, he had a franchise record, 4.5 sacks or 4 sacks in the postseason. And he holds that record. And he's like, what, a second-year player? Yes. That is crazy. He's going to keep add on to that. The cornerbacks, these rookies. I remember they was saying beginning of the season, oh, Cooper DeJean, he's not ready. Why he not starting yet? Bro was injured. He was injured in training camp or in the preseason. That ended up delaying him a little bit. So, especially on defense, they can't be saying like it's a super team when they didn't come into the season like that. Like I compared it to basketball, bro. Like the Warriors in 2017, 2018, the Cavs 2017, 2018. Well, not really 2018, but like 2017. You knew the Cavs and the Warriors are going to the finals unless somebody gets a catastrophic injury. That was a foregone conclusion. That's a super team because you're going into the season already expecting this team to be great. But then when the Eagles are 2-2, and folks are saying Saquon's a bust, Hurts is a turnover machine, this defense can't stop a parked car, and then they go ahead, Nick shave his head and ended up turning around, and this team goes on a crazy run and they win the Super Bowl. Now it's, are they a super team? No. You can't have it both. You can't have your cake and eat it too, bro. You can't crap on us. And then when we win, now it's, oh, this is an amazing team. Like, oh, we done the whole, what was the whole mindset they were saying heading to the Super Bowl, bro? It was, if you stop Saquon Barkley and if you force Jalen Hurts to throw the rock,
it's facts.
That's going to, I heard so many times throughout the playoffs, each round, we had to hear it each and every round when we were winning. What's going to happen when they force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball? And in the biggest moment, in the biggest game, with the lights shining super, super bright, they forced him to throw the ball like we saw against the Steelers. And it was night.
And honestly, I feel like Hurts would have continued on that trajectory from the Steelers game, but he got hurt, obviously, and he missed the final few games of the season. But ultimately, you're right. I mean, this team throughout the playoffs, they kept saying, stop Saquon, and they really couldn't stop him. Then the Super Bowl comes, and Saquon isn't really able to affect the game in the way that we expected. But when you really put it in perspective, Saquon probably didn't get the rushing yards that we expected, but I really respected the Eagles offense, Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. I respected them for sticking with the running game, keeping the offense on schedule. Saquon had, I think, 25 carries on the game. I think he had 29 touches total or 30 touches total in the game because he caught the ball. He caught the ball as well, and he blocked tremendously in that game, picking up blitzes. See, there's always the game within the game. And I feel like that's where Saquon was dominant. And he had key catches on third down. He had the one Bible catch that was pretty important and got us in the red zone, whatever. But, like, Saquon did his job in that game. He drew the attention. And Jalen Hurts just did what Jalen Hurts does. Turns up in the playoffs, turns up in the biggest games of his life. I mean, 2 Super Bowls so far on the road, he's outplayed their GOAT. He's outplayed their GOAT. And I mean in dramatic fashion, he's outplayed their GOAT in 2 separate occasions. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jalen Hurts holds the record for the highest completion percentage in Super Bowl history, if I'm not mistaken. I think he passed Nick Foles for that. So, again, Jalen Hurts is somebody that deserves his flowers, is always going to get his flowers from me, always going to get his flowers from you. But Saquon Barkley, doubling back to him. What an unprecedented season. Walk me through your thoughts regarding Saquon's impact throughout the season. Like, at what point did you say to yourself, "Oh, this man can't be stopped"? Was it the hurdle?
It was that, man. I gotta go back to his recent. Let me go back to the schedule real quick. I got it up because I knew the Packers game when he had 3 touchdowns. I was like, man. But I think I knew what it was. I knew what it was, bro. It was against the Saints when we all thought, let's just be honest. Most people thought, I ain't gonna say all, but most people thought it was gonna get bad. Our defense wasn't looking good. We are missing AJ and missing our offensive pieces. Smitty got knocked out, dirty behind hit. And Saquon Barkley in the fourth quarter opened it up with a 65-yard plus run to the crib. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this before. I haven't. And I like Swift. Shout out St. Joe's Prep. Shout out North Philly. Like, hey, I love Swift. Miles Sanders, he was a Pro Bowl caliber running back, but that type of home run hitter,
never seen it before.
Haven't seen that. We
haven't seen that since Shady.
We haven't seen that since Shady. And I think even Shady would say, I was nice. I'm an Eagles Hall of Famer. I'm one of the great running backs of this generation or in the 21st century, you know. But Saquon, different. And Saquon was showing that all season. So I think that Saints game, when I was just like, my goodness. And then each game against the Giants, he could have had his career high. He said, no, let the young guys eat. And then a couple of games later, he organically has his career high against the Rams. I mean, he's had times where, in the playoffs, he could have went ahead and had a 70-yard run to the crib against the Packers. Matt LaFleur talking about all this tush push stuff. We spared you. We spared you because we could have beat y'all by more. I
forgot about the run.
Saquon had mercy.
I forgot about that.
Like, come on. So I definitely think that Saints game, and going back to my initial thoughts when we acquired Saquon, like, I was all for it at the time. I was all for it. I thought, like, look, there was conversation of, do you bring back Swift or do you pay a little extra for Saquon? I said, well, look, if you're gonna pay, if Swift's market is like $8 million, and you're talking about Saquon's getting $13 million a year, like that's what his market's giving, you're gonna pay the extra $5 million. Like, you might as well do that because you're getting a superstar. And we saw if your whole team is right, offensive line in check, amazing coach and Jeff Stoutland, great quarterback, great wide receivers. I mean, it's easy. It's easy. And so there was a lot of talk, bro, because there were doubters, there were haters talking about some Saquon, he's been injured and he's not going to have that CMC-like impact, because that's essentially what Saquon was being compared to. Like, are you at Christian McCaffrey, go from the Panthers to the 49ers, and you saw his impact. Is Saquon going to have that same impact? I feel like unless you were a Cowboys hater or just simply never watched football ever in your life, you would say, yeah, Saquon isn't going to have a Christian McCaffrey-like impact. And actually, he didn't. He had a way bigger impact, had a way better season. It wasn't even close. And speaking of the tush push, if we going to be fair, if we didn't have the tush push,
he should have had 20 touchdowns.
He probably having like 20 touchdowns. Yeah, and his MVP case probably would have been a little bit better. He might have been number 2 in MVP. For real. And so I just feel like his impact on this city, on this team, it speaks volumes. His character as well. It's like he's a leader that everybody in that locker room respects. How he cheers for guys with Kenny Gainwell getting a touchdown against the Rams, or it's Will Shipley getting that touchdown against the Commanders and the NFC Championship. So he's one of those leaders on this team already. He's already a all-time great Philly athlete. He stamped that this season. And I would like for next season for the Eagles to cut down his workload. Hopefully, AJ Dillon and Will Shipley can step up more, because you don't want Saquon year in, year out having that same workload. Like, you want to go ahead and you sign this guy, I think, through 2029. You want to go ahead and have him, through at the very least 2027, 2028. You don't want to burn him out too early. So now I love everything Saquon's about, bro, and he stamped himself as a Philly legend.
Yeah, yeah, I can't even disagree with anything you said, man. You nailed it. You touched on the offseason edition of AJ Dillon. Before we get into the offseason additions, I want to tap into that defense one more time, because that's going to take us right into the offseason. Vic Fangio's ability to turn his Eagles defense around, but it really was sparked by having an influx of young dogs like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You bring in somebody hungry like Zack Baun. You had Jalen Carter take a step forward, being as dominant as he was. Nolan Smith took a step forward, right? Josh Sweat had a strong season, had an amazing Super Bowl. Milton Williams had a strong season, had an amazing Super Bowl. Oren Burke stepped in when Kobe Dean got hurt, when Kobe Dean was having a Pro Bowl level season. Reed Blankenship had a strong season. CJ GJ had a strong season. It just seemed like everybody on this defense was clicking on all cylinders. Jalix Hunt made an impact, right? Jordan Davis, his conditioning was top notch. His conditioning was somewhere I never seen it before. When you think about this Eagles defense as it was constructed in 2024 throughout this whole run, and then you factor in the losses, you lose Milton Williams, you lose Josh Sweat, you lose Darius Slay, who arguably had one of his best seasons of his career as a Philadelphia Eagle. You lose Isaiah Rodgers, right? Walk me through how you processed those guys' impact, and then how you process the loss of the guys I mentioned, and how the Philadelphia Eagles will pivot from there.
I want to start off, got to give props to Josh Sweat. I think he stamped himself as, with his performance in the Super Bowl. He could have damn near won Super Bowl MVP with his performance there, but he stamped himself as one of the great edge rushers in Eagles history with that performance. And he was a guy that was always productive, right? Since he came to Philly. Milton Williams had himself a breakout year. He should thank the bread man for him getting that bread, because if it wasn't for Jalen Carter getting all them double teams, I don't believe that Milton Williams has that success. But Milton Williams is a really good defensive tackle, and he did great stuff for us. Isaiah Rodgers, I loved his role as, a backup essentially to Darius Slay. And there were times that Slay would be out and Isaiah Rodgers would come in, and we would see it. Again, it's credit to Darius Slay in his fantastic season, but if we being real, we did see a little bit of a drop off. So I'm happy that all these guys get paid. I've been on record saying that I think free agency in the NFL is overrated. Now you're gonna have the Saquon going to the Eagles is a once in a generation, probably will never happen again. The Giants are just so incompetent that a blue chip player is actually available in free agency. But normally with free agency, the guys that are available are from teams that they didn't want to pay the person. They more like best case scenario, like a B+ B player that's about to get A money. And that's what I see with Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. I'm gonna get to CJ Gardner-Johnson last, because that's the one that really has me ticked off to this day. But
yeah,
Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, from the start of the season to the end of the season, they were B players. And at times they would have A+ games. And of course, the Super Bowl was an A+ game for both of those guys, right, and they got paid handsomely. It got me thinking too, is like Hassan Reddick, if you just stayed down, you could have been in Josh Sweat's shoes and getting 40 mil guaranteed, but you wanted to, count your eggs before they hatch, and now you on a 1-year deal. How about you think about that? So, but ultimately, I like these guys, but you have so many other young players that you have to pay that you can't be overpaying for Josh Sweat, for Milton Williams. And the Patriots, they got the cap space. They're gonna go ahead and give Milton Williams $26 million a year. The Cardinals, they got cap space. I know Jonathan Gannon probably wanted to have Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat is part of the reason why Jonathan Gannon is a head coach because of all them sacks that he contributed to. So I got those moves, leaving off or like moving off of them or letting them walk in free agency. Now the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade, it really rubbed me off the wrong way because it's like you don't trade those type of emotional leaders and like energy guys from your team. We saw the drop off, and yes, it was a different defense, but we saw in 2023 the defense lacked heart. It just did. They lacked heart. Like you had Trent Williams out here making Jalen Carter cry, and we were just soft. We were just flat out soft in 2023. But in 2022 and 2024, this team really has some fight. You got when the big bull like 6'8", the tight end from the Steelers was trying to go at Slay. You got Quinyon throwing haymakers. Like I knew from there, I was like, oh yeah, no, Quinyon, that's my dog. Like this team got some heart for real. And I firmly believe, at least from the outside looking in, it was CJ Gardner-Johnson that brought that fire to this team. So I think Howie is doing CJ a solid in terms of saying, hey, it was cap related. We want to get younger. But it wasn't about cap. Like I think that's the biggest cap ever because they tried to sign Justin Reed. I think it's some stuff that we don't know yet. Maybe somebody tells it, maybe they don't. But I feel like it's something else, especially if Darius Slay was like, didn't even mention CJ Gardner-Johnson in terms of leaders. It's like, did he know something already?
You cooking.
Did he know something already? So I think Howie is being a really good GM and a good guy to a former Eagle and CJ GJ and is not spilling the beans. But one can speculate, did Jeffrey Lurie or Howie Roseman, did they like the off-field antics? Now, to me, I don't care because I think it's really Philly. Like, he just bidding for real. Like,
yeah,
he just bidding for real. Like,
exactly.
That's something I would do with my friend. Hey, if I went, I'm 23 years old. If I won a Super Bowl, oh, I'm going to troll Travis Kelce like that. I'm definitely doing that. I know he's a little bit older than me, but like, these guys mid-20s, like, I get it. Like, I get it. So I wasn't that moved by it. The off-field antics, I kind of liked it. And last point, like, I look at CJ Gardner-Johnson like a PJ Tucker, like a Draymond Green, like Draymond Green, like he'll go over the top, but you need that type of energy. Like when you saw PJ Tucker yell at Embiid and said, Al Horford can't guard you. What are you doing? And then you saw Embiid flip a switch a little bit, at least for that game. You need those type of guys on your team. So hopefully Sidney Brown can step up. And maybe this is a move indicating that they really, really like Sidney Brown. But also if Malachi Starks is available in the draft, go ahead and get that Georgia Bulldog. What are we talking about?
You tapping into a lot right there. And, just to hone in on the leadership aspect, right? CJ did bring an edge that was definitely missing from that 2023 season. I mean, I think it was a handful of reasons why that train went downhill the way it did. But I think one of the main reasons was they lacked heart, they lacked intensity. And then you throw in the coaching changes going from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia mid-season. It just seemed like that defense was doomed to fail from the very beginning. And then you had a revolving door. And then you had then your safety position couldn't really stay healthy for many weeks on end. Then you make the trade for Kevin Byard. Then I don't got to go down that road. But, I think going into this 2025 season, although you lost CJ GJ, a guy who is an emotional leader, a guy who is very vocal, I think it was important for CJ to come back, instill that energy into the rest of the roster. And I think we do have some people in the building who do play the game with a certain fire. One person who stands out to me, who's a young guy, who I think is going to become the future BG in terms of leadership on this team, is Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is a guy who's extremely vocal, talks on the sideline, plays the game with fire, plays the game with purpose, plays it with intensity. One moment that stands out to me from Nolan Smith, divisional round matchup against the Rams. Jalen Carter gets the first sack on Matthew Stafford. He sacks him and picks him up. And then they get back to the sideline. Jalen Carter says, "Hey, Nolan, thank you for trusting me, man. Thank you for trusting me on that play." I'm guessing Jalen Carter saw something, and he said, "Nolan, do this, and I'm going to go here." He probably called a stunt. He said, "Nolan, thank you for trusting me." Nolan got up. He said, "Boy, don't you ever say no shit like that to me ever again. You see that shit, you call it. You see that, you call it." I'm like, whoa! Like it was just an intensity that he plays with, and just how he carries himself off the football field, how he talks about the game in his press conferences, how he talking about, "I'm supposed to be at the shipyard." You know what I mean? So it's just, and then you brought up Quinyon, a guy who plays the game with fire, plays it with confidence, don't back down from nobody, went up against some of the best wide receivers in football throughout this entire campaign, went up against Mike Evans, went up against Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. Who else he faced off with? I mean, he faced off with some pretty tough competition. Went up against, I believe, went up against Puka and Cooper Kupp, Scary Terry. I mean, he's 2-1 in that matchup. Let's call it what it is. He's 2-1 in that matchup. So I think you got other guys on this team who have found their confidence. Jalen Carter, I think he takes a step forward as a leader on this team. I think Nakobe takes a step forward once he gets healthy. You got Zack Baun, a guy who plays the game with confidence as well. Reed Blankenship, a quiet leader, but somebody whose confidence has grown. I think you got some fire on this team. They just got to hone it and figure out who's going to be that guy who speaks, who does most of the talking. And I think, again, if he gets back healthy, I think Nakobe can be that vocal guy, because a lot of people talk about Nakobe being somebody who he's like the brains of that defense. He does a lot of the talking.
100%. No, I agree.
But GJ losing him still hurt me. I'm gonna be honest. That's something I didn't expect. I didn't want that to happen. But I agree with you. I think it was more than just about cap space or more about cash considerations. I think it was about, there was something going on internally that just wasn't vibing right.
Yeah.
And like you said, Howie did him a solid. And he said, "Listen, I respect you. You did right by us. I'm gonna do right by you. I'm gonna trade you to a winning situation where you can play competitive football."
I like that. Yeah, like I 100% agree. I think going off the Nakobe Dean part, I mean, he was a leader on that Georgia team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, half this damn defense is Georgia Bulldogs there, so he was already one of they leaders back in Athens. So now in Philly, like we saw him with the green dot, his leadership there. Zack Baun, you saw him mic'd up, his leadership as well. So yeah, specifically like the Nakobe, even though, and it's gonna be obviously hard for him because he'll have to get back from injury and he'll probably get back mid-season and all that stuff. At least off the field, I know he has that fire that all them Georgia Bulldogs, Jalen Carters, Nolan Smith, all them guys, they swear by him. Like they fully respect him. And if Nakobe's like, "Yo, JC, like cut it out," like he's getting too much into it, like slapping guys, whatever. Like, all right, like JC, like go out there, like and chill out. And so we see guys like, Coop and Quinyon. I think with them being young, but being so young that like
inexperienced though. They got experience, like, man.
Part of them is like they didn't even know what this really hitting for. Now it's like, oh, this is what I guess the winning mindset is, what the winning routine is like, and they've developed that in their first year. I believe that Quinyon and Coop are going to take that step as leaders on this team for sure. Sidney Brown as well. I mean, like whenever he's on the field, he's going 150 miles per hour.
But that's low-key his problem, though. That's low-key his problem.
And that's low-key his problem sometimes. I saw Seth Joyner talk about that. It's like, all right, you gotta pick your spots. There's nobody going that, but like that type of fire, like even like I forget which game it was, but Sidney Brown was like fighting and all that stuff. And he got
Steelers game.
ejected.
That was
And
Steelers.
so like you might need like, is he gonna be the next crash out on this team that like CJ was? I wouldn't be surprised. He looks primed to be in that position. Like unless they go out there and draft, Malachi Starks, or they, acquire maybe a Justin Simmons or whatever. But I think definitely like that emotional, like what you just flat out just see right in your face on the screen. Like Sidney Brown could like kind of be that guy that just he has a huge hit and that just riles up everybody. But especially with Zack Baun, and I think he'll have to wear that green dot.
Yeah.
While Nakobe is still nursing his injury, he'll be that guy that is that vocal leader for sure on all three levels that just gets everybody in check.
Yeah, MJ, man, you didn't give me a lot of time, man. I really appreciate it. I just got a couple more for you, if you don't mind. Dog, it's so funny. We talked about the free agent losses and the impact that we expect that to have, and there were some losses we expected, some losses we didn't. And then Howie Roseman had the offseason he had, bringing in AJ Dillon, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari. He signed 2 random tight ends, Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson from the Raiders and the Colts, respectively. Traded for the guard from the Houston Texans, Kyron Green. The free agent signings weren't. They brought back Patrick Johnson, former Eagles edge rusher. The free agent signings weren't illustrious. Let's call it what it is. They weren't really big spending moves, and I noticed that the temperature of the Eagles fans started to change once free agency happened the way it happened, losing the players they lost, and then seeing the people they brought back. There were some guys people were excited for, but the overall temperature just wasn't really vibing when it came to Howie Roseman's decision-making over the course of the offseason. What's your perspective on how Howie Roseman has approached this offseason in particular?
He's really saying, I paid Vic Fangio for this moment here. Like, we're getting these guys like a Zack Baun last year for a bargain. And because Howie trusts his coaching so much, he believes Vic Fangio, Bobby King, the linebackers coach, Clint Hurt, defensive line coach, all these guys that have done phenomenal jobs. And I think if the Eagles repeat their success next season, Clint Hurt is gone for sure. Christian Parker, I'm surprised he's still on this squad. He should have been a DC. I thought Kellen Moore was about to go out there and stab us in the back and take our defensive back coach. Like, we ended up keeping him. So I think this is Howie just saying, I really, really believe in our coaches defensively. And we have the luxury of, we got a guy in Vic Fangio that after the Super Bowl, he's tweaking out. He's saying, yo, like the post me and Jalen Son's like, yeah, Vic was mad we gave up 22 points in that half. Like, bro, we won the bowl, but like Vic is, just old school. And I love the way that the defense gravitated towards him and listened to him, because going into Philly, there was all them Miami Dolphins players saying they didn't like Vic Fangio and his mindset and all that. That just told me they didn't want to work hard. That's all that told me.
I agree with you 100%.
This Eagles defense that was young and hungry, all they needed was a leader that knew what he was talking about. We had all that turmoil, like you said, with Sean Desai, Matt Patricia, who is one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life in the NFL, should never have a job as a Bill Belichick merchant. He had Hassan Reddick in coverage. I mean, that was one of the worst months I've ever had as an Eagles fan. But now you have stability defensively, and Vic Fangio is a primary reason why guys like Azeez Ojulari, if he can stay healthy, he's going to get you 8 sacks. That's a fact. Joshua Uche, he has a full off season to be acclimated in Vic Fangio's system. He could be productive, and it was a minute since He had like 11 sacks with the Patriots, and I believe in 2022. But I think if Vic can unlock a guy in Zach Baun, who was a special teamer, and make him one of the best players offensively or defensively in the NFL, I mean, Howie's gonna bet on that every single time.
Yeah, and when you think about again the losses and you kind of bring in cheap guys, the reality is you can't keep everybody for one. When you win and you win big and you win the big game, the Super Bowl, teams, they don't just want your coaches. They want your players. And like you said, free agency is overrated. They're going to overpay for guys like Josh Sweat. They're going to overpay for guys like Milton Williams, right? So a lot of these moves, a lot of these losses, I kind of factor into the idea that, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. They got some guys that they're going to have to pay, and I'm talking about pay big. One name that just jumps off the mountaintop is Jalen Carter. That brother's going to make $35+ million.
Yeah.
$35+ million. He's entering year 3, meaning contract talks have begun. They have begun. Then on top of that, if you want to really foreshadow, Quinyon, he's going to get paid. Like we just saw Derek Stingley and JC Horn get the bag. And let's be honest about JC Horn. I love him, love his talent, love him in college. He can't stay healthy, and they still paid him. Still paid him. So it's some guys coming down the woodworks that they're going to have to pay a lot. Nolan Smith, what's his future hold in Philadelphia? Jordan Davis. They got to decide by May 1st if they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. Right. Like they got guys that they really got to figure out the long-term remedy for. Reed Blankenship. This is his last year on the contract. What they're going to do with that? Right? Kelly Ringo. Can he step up and be the player that we expect him to be? Sidney Brown, can he step up? There comes a point where you got to gamble. You got to bet on your young players and expect them to take that next step forward. And you got to make sure you pay the right people because the Eagles have shown you exactly what the blueprint is. We're going to invest heavy capital on offense. We're going to draft really well on defense. We're going to be young on that side of the ball. We're going to sprinkle in our veterans here and there. If you're elite on that side of the ball, we will pay you. But you got to be elite. You got to be a game changer. You got to be irreplaceable, right? Offense, that whole offensive line getting north of $20 million. The whole offensive line. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, 25+, $30+ million. Jalen Hurts getting paid buku chips. Like, I mean, Dallas Goedert is due to make $12 million this year. You know, it's like they spend a lot of money on the offense side of the ball, so they got to get creative. They got to really develop and really lean on top-tier coaching on the defense. And, again, you got guys that you got to pay. And, I as a matter of fact, this is a good question right here. Who do you see as the core untouchable players on that defensive side of the ball right now?
Jalen Carter.
Okay, that's one.
Quinyon Mitchell.
Okay.
Cooper DeJean.
All right.
Nolan Smith, Zach Baun.
Boom. And Zach Baun just got his money. 3 years, $54 million. You know what I'm saying? So, or I'm sorry, 3 years, $51 million. $34 million guaranteed. So he's locked up at least for the next 2 years with guaranteed money. 3 years, you know, that final year not guaranteed. So we'll see how that goes. But as far as like the young guys in particular, right, the guys they drafted, definitely Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. And I think they're really going to try to build this roster around those guys. And everybody else is probably going to be either 1-year deals, 2-year deals. They listen, if you negotiate well, you may be here long term. I like Reed Blankenship, but you know, you got to ask yourself, is he irreplaceable? That all remains to be seen. But yeah, man. Last question. We briefly touched on Dallas Goedert. Are you buying the Dallas Goedert trade rumors? And if so, how do you expect this to go? Because the Eagles have a lot of draft capital. They have 20 draft picks over the next 2 draft classes, 2025 and 2026. If Dallas Goedert is traded, do you see them going tight end in the early rounds? Just walk me through your perspective on the Dallas Goedert trade rumors, and then walk me through your perspective on how the Philadelphia Eagles approach this upcoming draft.
Yeah, so, you know, I like Dallas Goedert a lot. For sure, top 3 tight end in Eagles history. One of the best playoff performers in Eagles history. These gotta be like top 2, at the very least top 3 in just receiving yards. I mean, you're talking about all the great receivers that we've had. He's top 3. That's pretty. He's tight end. That's pretty crazy. The thing with Goedert is, all right, he's 30. And with the NFL, you want to get rid of a player early, a year early, rather than a year late.
Correct.
So if they can go ahead and flip Goedert, who's set to make, like you said, 11.8, $12 million next season, if you can flip him for a third, a fourth, a fifth, I'd do that. I'd do that. And I don't think the first one that comes to mind in terms of like this draft, like Tyler Warren, I don't think that he'll drop that far in the draft. It would be great. I don't think he dropped that far at all. But if it gets to like the late teens and it's like it's about to approach like the early 20s and they don't have Tyler Warren yet, or no, or he didn't get picked up by nobody. Hey, Howie, you got all them compensatory picks. You know, go ahead and make some shake for like Tyler Warren, but I expect either in the second round or the third round for the Eagles to realistically draft the tight end. I believe it is like a strong tight end draft. And I'm gonna do more research on the other guys outside Tyler Warren specifically. But I do think within the first round, I'm looking at Malachi Starks. I'm looking at Walter Nolan. I think we do go either safety, which even if Sidney Brown is amazing, who the Eagles want him to be and all that stuff, they're still very, very thin at that position. So even if you think Sidney Brown is going to be great, if he gets injured or Reed gets injured, you better put Tristan McCullum. I mean, you do got the guy from Georgia too, so maybe he'll like shows up, and he was a former first round pick. I think Lewis Kahn or whatever. So
Lucine.
Lucine Kahn. So like that's something that they definitely gotta like pay attention to. So I like Goedert a lot. But the one thing the Eagles do that the Sixers don't do is that the Eagles are proactive. And the Eagles will pay their players when they do extraordinary, all-time great stuff. That's what they'll do. And I appreciate that. I love that. The Sixers, they pay their players when they're hurt, when their knees are messed up, coming off playoff failures, and they just give these guys this money. And then they hold on to guys a year or 2 or 3 late, and now they got no value. Versus the Eagles, they're more ahead of the curve. They were ahead of the curve for Hassan Reddick. Time will tell. Maybe they were ahead of the curve for CJ Gardner-Johnson. We don't know. But they're on the time track of like, all right, once you hit 30, once you are getting up there in your NFL years, like we're going to go ahead and go younger. Because let's be honest, bro, like last time Dallas Goedert has played like, 15 plus games has been like either like 2021. Like he be in and out of the lineup.
To your point about that, just to give you some context, these are his games played or games available for since 2022. 2022, 14 games played. 2023, 12 games played. 2024, 10 games played. Each year, he's losing 2 games. I think Howie Roseman I think they're looking at that trend and saying, we can't gamble on this guy again. Granted, I think another reason he's so comfortable probably trading him is throughout the thick of the season where they really went on that run, he wasn't there. So they probably feel like, okay, maybe we can, go younger, go a little cheaper at that position. I'm not saying none of those free agent guys they brought in is the answer, but I think they're definitely going to draft the guy. If I can sneak one last one in for you, bro. Sure. I mentioned Jordan Davis' 5th-year option. Do you think they pick it up? He owed $12 million.
I think they do. It's interesting topic because I like Jordan Davis. People be calling me like I be hating because like I'll mention every Georgia Philadelphia Bulldog sometimes and I forget to mention him. I like Jordan Davis. It's just I just feel like some Eagles fans make him more like I think he has been a B player a B player at best for the Eagles, which is cool because we got so much depth on the defensive line. You're a B player, that's cool. But we saw in 2023 when we're asking him to, be that first round talent, it didn't look too. He had that moment against Josh Allen when he did track down Josh Allen. That was big time. And talk about that conditioning. I gotta give him credit for that.
From that game, from that game, he was shot.
Yeah.
After that game, was the moment he shot his little right there, bro. Like, and it's just like I like Jordan Davis too. Don't get it twisted. I like Jordan Davis, but I think if you asked Howie Roseman right now, have you been satisfied, or has Jordan Davis lived up to the first round status? If you had to ask Howie Roseman that right now to this day, has Jordan Davis lived up to first round status? Do you believe you've gotten first round production out of him? I think he would say no.
Yeah, facts. Like, has he produced on a first round talent type of, has he produced on that level? It's just he hasn't done that. On the third round, maybe late second round. All right, now we more talking. So I think you talk about Jalen Carter hit. Nolan Smith, late first rounder. We saw him get his feet under him. Finally, he hit. One could also say, to be devil's advocate, hey, like Brandon Graham was somebody that he started off slow. Mm-hmm. And if the Eagles gave up on him, we don't have nobody that has that strip sack on Tom Brady, or even frankly get to that point to be in the Super Bowl against the Patriots and win our first Super Bowl and all that. But the Eagles stuck with their first round pick. So one could, say, hey, like we saw with Brandon Graham, we saw with Nolan Smith, even though Nolan is younger, hey, like, Jordan Davis could like just, be more productive. And I know people are saying like a lot of his stats don't show up in the stat sheet.
Which is true.
He isn't like drafted, bro. First round, 13th overall. Like just to be a run stopper. I just don't like you draft that for like the third round. And it's cool. It's cool. And that's my problem, bro. It's like, yo, I like him. But then when y'all be saying, oh, it's Jalen Carter, it's Jordan Davis, it's Jalen Carter.
And everybody else.
It's everybody else. You want to say there's Noah Smith. And Nakobe, when he was healthy, he had a breakout year. But like let's please like just relax.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you again. I like Jordan Davis. I like him a lot. But what he does not show up on the stat sheet. He take up a lot of space. Good run defender. But, for a first round pick, a guy who drafted 13th, 14th overall, only playing first and second down. I mean, when Milton Williams getting more snaps than you, and he was like a fourth or fifth rounder, I think, when you getting the same amount of snaps as Moro Ojomo, who I like, by the way. I think he's the next Milton Williams, but you getting the same amount of snaps as Moro Ojomo, and you got Jalen Carter, who's playing 80+% of the snaps. Okay, that's not first round billing. Just to be honest about it.
It's not. That's just, I know like they had that affinity because like, and I like him, but I had the affinity, the bias towards Nakobe Dean, and I was blindly supporting him blindly. And folks was like, Jeff McClain wrote some the preseason how Nakobe took Devin White's spot, and people was like, why would they do that? Nakobe's not this. I'm like, y'all gonna see he earned that spot.
That ticket paid off. You put that ticket in early.
Early. I was like, hey, y'all gonna see. And then we saw what he did before injury. So I get it. People have like they like certain players that they have that affinity to and all of that. But first round talent, as of this point, he just hasn't been a first round talent. So
yeah, Jordan Davis. Yep. Hey, listen, MJ, man. I appreciate the time you gave me, brother. I appreciate you for tapping in with me and not forgetting about me, man. I know we've been trying to set this up for a little while, and we was finally able to get it done. So I'm grateful to you, my man. I'm grateful for the time. Love what you're doing. Love the content. Love the resume you've built thus far in your very young career, man. Like the sky's the limit for you. I see great things, man, and I think it's just so fly to see you doing what you're doing. Please plug your channel, plug anything you're working on. Just talk to the people and tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, Tone. Pleasure to be on Chalk It Up Sports. It was great. I saw it was like a mention that had like fellow like Philly content creators, and I don't even be on. I'm mostly be on like Instagram or like TikTok, and I've been trying to be more on like I guess X now or like Twitter. But like it was cool to just like even be mentioned like with you or like other people like in the space. So it's cool that we can all like stick together
Facts.
and all of that stuff for sure. Like it's just like black men in this space, like we got to.
Absolutely.
And then yeah, like Instagram, TikTok, Real Talk with MJ. Tap in, we have episodes weekly. And definitely wanna bring on more guests with like athletes and other journalists and content creators. So yeah, definitely got to have you on Real Talk with some NFL draft stuff. Once
Definitely.
that
Whenever you need me, just let me know,
up,
bro. Whenever you need me.
for sure. So no, it was a pleasure, and go Birds, man, go Birds.
Yes, sir. On that note, you guys, this has been Real Talk with MJ. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Go subscribe to him. Real Talk with MJ. The podcast is booming. Instagram following is through the roof. I'm trying to catch up with him on Instagram. See, I'm more on the Twitter side. He more on the IG side. But listen, man, he does great work. Go lock in with him. MJ, it was a pleasure, my brother. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. Shout out to my man MJ, man. That was fly. I really appreciate him for taking the time out to kick it with me. They go a long way. And again, I love what he's built. I love the following he's built on social media. Love the grind. His resume is illustrious. Really, really just a smart dude, a humble dude. Somebody who really, really takes his craft serious. So shout out to him, man. That was a dope conversation. And I appreciate you guys as well for locking in on the late night tip, for locking in. I know this is not our normal time, but you guys have been phenomenal. You guys have truly been my biggest supporters, man. And even shout out to my biggest haters. You feel me? So make sure you guys lock in. That's our show for this evening. I really appreciate the love. You guys have been truly, truly phenomenal. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Also, make sure you guys check the show out if you need to. Check it out on Spotify. Check it out on Apple Podcasts. These episodes are always available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you guys give me a 5-star rating. Give me a comment, whatever it is. Make sure you guys also comment below on this video, especially if you're watching this after the fact. So just make sure you guys stay locked in. The content only gets better. We're only going to have more and more illustrious guests in this straight like that. Shout out to Gillian Wallow. You guys have been tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge to the game.